hearing. This is a public hearing to hear comments on ordinance number 500, Book 5, repealing the city begging ordinance, section 18-6, begging in public places, Article 1, Chapter 18 of Codes of Ordinances.
Just a little history on this. The city had been notified by the ACLU that this section of the ordinance should not be in there. And the city attorney did look at it and did confirm that that is correct. So it's one paragraph in that larger ordinance relative to begging in public. And he is recommending that we do remove that from our ordinance, and that's what the public hearing is here for tonight.
This is a public hearing, so if there's any member of the audience that wishes to speak on this topic, now would be the time to approach the podium and state your name. Commissioners, make comments? All right, looks like I can close this public meeting or hearing, and we have 4 minutes to wait.
You had ordinance, you need an ordinance to change the ordinance. So we'll bring that back to the next meeting for action. You can't take action on an ordinance at the meeting that you can.
He doesn't have the power at all. No, his number. That, yeah. Let's go and do that. Did you see that just everybody here is talking about official keys and everything you saw there? Questions doesn't last.
I mean, DPW calls out.
So what were they thinking of those vehicles? What were they thinking of those vehicles? If you don't hear as long as of the year, that was and new record. Outstanding. And then they have 50 pounds.
What about next Sunday?
What do you mean next Sunday? Later game. The only way we make it bring later.
Rogers patched up his shoulder.
Since we're not an open meeting, I hope that Rogers tries to play it and just his shoulder just gets destroyed.
I'm telling you, that's what I hope for.
Is that gonna be in the front page, Rob? Well, stop it.
It's 5:25, so I'll open our next public hearing. This is public hearing to hear comment on a blight violation at 400 Cedar Street.
We're here for the public hearing, 400 Cedar Street. Mr. Ken Farner's in attendance, property owner. I spoke briefly about this at the last meeting when setting this up. I also have some photos from 2009 comparing from past letters that were sent. I don't know if you guys have any questions, comments. And, started sending notices, I guess we sent 3 in 2009, 1 in 2010, 1 in 2011. 2012, there wasn't any. That's when the EPA was in town and pretty much the whole area tore up. And 3 notices this summer, starting in July.
Again, Jason, this is a commercial property.
This is an industrial zone.
Industrial, sorry, industrial
There
property.
is, industrial use there, which is perfectly fine. There is some specifications on the industrial use, things that we can go through again, but for the most part, it's a lot more open than, residential or commercial zone.
We just work with our industrial zoning, the things have to be covered on the industrial property.
That's one of the issues there, and I know we've had in the past where, dust and particles being put into the air is not acceptable use even in an industrial area. So, right now there's a white blanket covering that area, there. We can also work with the property owner on making sure that comes into specs.
Jason, some of the things we're looking at here are some vehicles that are inoperable on the site.
There's some vehicles, there was a survey done on the Ironwood, city of Ironwood property to the north of this. And in doing that survey, Coleman Engineering did the survey, we found that there is also some stuff that's on city of Ironwood property. So that's not a current picture, but that just shows kind of the property line.
Would you want to go back to that and maybe show where some of the spillover is occurring? So you can show what Mr. Barner owns and then where the city property owns.
Currently, this is Mr. Barner's property here. The city of Ironwood owns these lots that are here. Right now, we have some materials and some vehicles here, some materials that are piled here. You can see that in a picture as we go forward. This right here is what's called Water Street. It's a 60-foot right of way that we own. He has some woods that are stored there right now. I don't know that it's, it hasn't been there very long, maybe a month.
Yeah.
Some of the railroad ties and stuff, we had complaints in the summer going, over the sidewalk. That picture down, there it kind of shows where the property line is. It's approximately 4 to 6 feet off of the back of the rear of the building is where the property line is. And right now, there's some wood piled up. A couple of trailers back there. This area to the right here is kind of, that shows that there's the material there in those vehicles, that's where the property line goes down, and the city of Ironwood kind of owns where that area shown in there. This tree right in the center of this photo is actually the corner. The city of Ironwood property, you can see there's quite a few things past that area. So we can get the debris cleaned up and hoping the property owner will take care of it.
Has there been any recent effort to do things there?
Can't show progress. I know right now it's difficult and that sort of stuff is for here in December. And, he's cleaned up some of the vehicles out the front and it's progress. I don't know that it's where it needs to be.
Well, this is the third part of this process,
Yeah.
correct?
In that packet, there was also the photos which were in your meeting packet from November. And I don't think there's been a lot done since then. Since the November photos that were done the last. Yeah, okay.
So in terms of light violation, what specifically are the violations?
We have some unlicensed vehicles, unlicensed trailers, some debris that doesn't pertain to, the business, some junked out vehicles that need to be taken care of, and then we also have material storage on our city of Ironwood property.
When you send them these, are they repeated? So like it's the same issue each time something is a letter sent, or like each time you give them a notice, is it about something different?
Well, each year was different, where it was different things, they pertain to vehicles or whatever, and in the past years, they've been taken care of. In the past years, we've sent them things, He sent unlicensed vehicles, and he's taking care of those. You know, this year, it's, you know, doesn't seem like it's taken care of as much as we needed to. We also, with the EPA site development that went on down there, we kind of, now we know where our property is, and we're gonna wanna make sure that he stays on his own property.
Are there any specific, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
are there any guidelines that pertain to industrial areas abutting residential areas?
I don't believe directly, but there is a industrial, you know, district zoning, which does have permitted uses and non-permitted uses. The industrial zoning has come from years of industrial business being at that facility.
I guess I have questions like if the timbers that I went by there today, and the timbers that are stacked, and it sounds like some of them are on our property. If those are just kind of a random pile, is that a violation, or is it just good neighbor policy to be neat and clean with those?
I don't know that it would be a violation, but it would be definitely a lot better for the neighborhood if it was a neater stacked pile.
But it's not a blight violation.
Not for this particular zone.
Got it.
I think we have to have some of this stuff covered, so it's not creating a public nuisance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If there are soil piles down there, and you were doing some topsoil, that type of thing, if it's, if you don't have grass established on it, if you have a, you know, crop of grass on it, and, you know, it's not blowing around, that's typically fine. But if it is a loose pile of topsoil, or maybe sand or something like that, you do need to have it covered, tarped or something.
Okay.
One of those
And we have run into this at other locations through town.
That's what I'm wondering as you're talking, is I don't see anybody else, they root here, anybody else putting covers on their tiles. I've never seen a cover on any tile in town.
We've addressed that in different areas of town over the last couple of years in certain situations. And then they have to apply in those other areas. But I think here again, you know, it's the cars, it's the debris on the site. It's the encroachments, I guess, on the public property that need to be addressed. And, we did meet a few months back here with Ken. He kind of came up with a cleanup plan. I think he probably got busy over the summer and wasn't able to comply with it. We're more than happy to come down and point out specifically what issues, you know, need to be corrected.
I'm interested if Mr. Farmer has anything you'd like to say about
Sure.
this situation.
Sure. Well, this, I don't know if you can put that picture from my property line. That up there. Okay, last year when you,
Well,
The overview about?
the full.
no, you have
Okay.
it at the top.
The first one.
Okay, just to give you some history on this, back when Keith Johnson was city manager way back when, I've been in business for 18 years now, in the excavation business, as most of you know. He gave me permission to pile materials back, and I hold back there. So as long as the piles went over 200 yards, which none of them ever were. So when the EPA started doing the process of getting ready to clean up the contaminated site several times, they contacted me and said we're going to come in, and they didn't show up. And then the last time he said we're going to come in, well, then Kathy from the EPA, that headed up here, called me and said, you know, we're going to be there in 30 days, we need to get all the material out. So, or anything that you were down out there. So I spent 2 weeks with a couple machines, a couple guys, like in the middle of the busy season, you know, high point of the season. We took time, got everything, and we kind of placed it, you know, in these areas, top fill being there, like we talked about, and then kind of, there's boulders here, we used to landscape, and there's timbers here. You know, we have different material piles, rock, sand, gravel, you know, over in here, approximately, everything was gonna wind up, you know, permanently. And, you know, so she, I mean, it if you ever talked to her or called her, she told me many times during that project that I was very cooperative and thanked them for being so cooperative and helping out. I even let them borrow a bunch of boulders out of my pile to block off the trails up there would say return. And those are actually on city property too, but they return those. And so I try to help out, accommodate the contractors and do whatever I could. So anyway, we get to this year, and it comes time to start organizing this stuff. And, I know the newspaper article, kind of dramatized it last week, in my opinion. And so we started sorting things out, and when you talk about other people's plight, there might be a couple junk cars in the yard of that. I, of course, from the 2-week project last year, I had a project on my hands this year. So we started sorting things out and, trying to find a permanent home. Met with, like Scott said, him in public safety and at the end of August, and we were shooting for the end of September, having things done. Well, as most of you know, 8 months of this calendar year, there's been snow on the ground, record snowfall the last 3 months of winter, record rainfall the first 3 months of summer. And so that made things difficult, and so I was trying to get jobs done, very busy with growing, probably my busiest summer ever. And so we're trying to get, when there's a nice day when it's not pouring out, get a machine in there and work on it, which I did. And we started picking away at the things, getting them sorted. The topsoil pile, we actually lined up tossing a little bit farther on the property because we were sorting out concrete pieces that were in there and things like that. And, if you take this whole vast area back here, I'm trying to cram all this stuff in here, in this small area, which is quite a bit smaller. So trying to sort through things, so what we can. I used to have a mechanic at night sometimes and do all the junk cars around. And I guess that's my fault for those being there so long that we took care of some of those this other day. So, along with being in a challenging business, like I said, it's record rainfall and, everything's muddy, it's raining and that. And but in the meantime, anything that we could work on, we were working on. A lot of these pictures, the stuff that's gone, the junk cars, most of them, like I said, are gone. All the materials that I have now, and I brought a couple pictures with me too. This whole area is clear, and we have our materials kind of on edge that are going to wind up being just, operating area in here for the future. And then right in the middle of all of this, I had somebody come and vandalize my equipment. They vandalized the motorbike on Main Street at the bar closed on early Sunday morning. And they came to my shop, broke all the windows on my dump truck, most of the windows on my rotor tire backhoe. And they actually started the machine 2 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, and just totaled up my screen and topsoil. And so throw that in the middle of this. 2 guys took a month to rebuild the screen. There was pretty much nothing left of it. And tell me how somebody that called cops at 2 in the morning, Sunday morning, with a big excavator on it, I don't know. But so, that threw something in there too. I had some extra expenses, had guys working on those vehicles. Like I said, the screener was a whole month, 2 guys to rebuild it. So I think, I know I didn't meet the goals that we planned on. Like Jason said in the past, issues have come up where business were involved, stuff in, you're busy, stuff gets a little disorganized sometimes. So I think we made the best of the time. I figure right now we have probably 2 guys and 2 machines, about a week's worth of time, and then 2 guys, laborers, probably a week or 2 worth of time. And at the same time, we're inside the building, trying to organize, pack things in so that we can bring some of your stuff inside also because of the room constraints. So I think I've been doing the best that I can with the situation, with the weather that we had this year, with vandalism. And like I said, if you look now, I'll give you a couple of pictures. But this whole center is clear. My screener is here. We got that fixed, and we have to throw a little bit more. That's when we're right towards the end of the property line. So the only thing in this whole center is the screener. So a lot of the stuff that you call blight or is described as blight, I think has been removed, and, we were busy right up to the end, so as the machines come in, which they're coming in now, of course, with the cold, and we're just gonna keep picking away at this. The only thing, I don't see, moving that topsoil this part of the year with all the snow on it, I'm gonna have the money next by to move that right now. So, I mean, we're talking about in the spring, we're gonna 50 feet across the line. But we can keep picking away at this stuff on the edges and organizing. And like I said, I feel it's probably 50–60% done from when we started, from what I saw. So, I think I'm doing my part, for the rest of the year.
Do you have an estimated timeframe for when you'll be able to meet the recommendations of the land officer?
Well, being winter, I mean, when I got the notice last week, I probably would spend some more time this weekend working on it if it was nice weather. But with sub-zero temperatures, and I can't run my machine here unless it's an emergency. We do emergency work if we have to, but we just wreck things, seals and pumps and things like that in this cold weather trying to run machines. So as the weather permits, is what I was thinking.
Commissioners, any questions from Mr. Farmer or Mr. Elliott?
Jason, when was the last time that you looked at the property?
Those photos, other than this one right here, are all from today.
Okay.
The rest of them are in that packet.
It's hard to see with the snow on there, you can't, run it's covered.
Yeah, and some of that snow cover, we strap metal now, we do several things, so there's gonna be a pile of metal, around back there, which the snow is covering, to go around the corner. There's gonna be a pile of scrap metal, and every time we get, dump it over, we run it up that. So, I did the best I could, I've done the best I could with this. So, like I said, we'll continue working on it, of course. So, it's going to benefit me also to have everything in the organization.
Thank you. Commissioners, no other questions from Mr. Farmer?
Have you considered putting up a fence maybe or something in the back line there?
A couple people had mentioned that, and Louise Moss and stopped on through, and she said that, and we do have that in the works to start putting up a fence next year. I don't know if we'll get the whole thing completed, but we will. Fences and,
Take care of a lot of the issues you have.
right, exactly.
With the site and things of the debris or whatnot.
Right, exactly. And I know the neighbors are complaining about dust and that, if you have a dry summer, the wind's blowing. And then I'm in the excavation business, there's one strip pile there, so that I don't think there's any way we're gonna fully control the dust. So, it's industrial zone lot, we have no residential neighborhood. So.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and if there's any members of the audience that wish to speak, now would be your time to speak on the blight violation at 400 Cedar Street. If you're able, please approach the podium and state your name.
My name is Diane Fleur, and I just purchased a home. I'm at 413 Cedar Street, which is just like a half a block away. I guess my concern is we have kids growing up in the neighborhood again. And our worry is without this fence, which you just read my mind a few minutes ago, is I just need to know if there's going to be some kind of protection for these kids. Because they're playing, they're busy, it's hard to keep kids out of this area. And I fear for them if they get hurt. These trucks are coming in and out of there, and they're small, but I think they should be safe too as they're playing. So that's our concern right now is the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the audience that wish to speak at this time? Okay, I'll close that public hearing, and we're on schedule to start our regular meeting. Our regular meeting in order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording the roll.
All present?
Approval of consent agenda. Are there any changes we need to be aware of?
motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kayla, second by Commissioner Seymour to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion or concerns? Roll call.
Care,
Yes.
Seymour,
Yes.
Sim,
Yes.
Tower,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item D, receive and place on file for the finance director, 1 statement of revenue and expenditures and 2 monthly cash reports.
Thank you. Tonight I am reporting the revenue expenditures and the cash report for the month of October. So we'll start with the general fund.
Hey, Paul, can you check the mic just to make sure it's on?
It's on top, there's a button. The red.
Should be on there.
There you go.
Thank you.
Just to repeat myself, I'm presenting the financials for the month of October. We approved the cash register, or excuse me, the check register report at the last meeting. We're reporting these 2 reports tonight. Just going down, nothing's too significant to report in the general fund. Toward the bottom, some of the higher percentages, and through October, we should be about 33% of our expenditure budget. Toward the bottom, the insurance and fringes, you see about 51%. That's due to some prepaid insurance costs that we had at the beginning of the year that'll last us throughout the fiscal year. And the programs, about 45%, that's going to be for our veterans band, this is a portion of that. And appropriations, other funds, 44%. And if you recall, the general fund supplements our local street fund. And in that fund, we have our 2012 local street paving project debt to be paid now. That payment has been made as of October. We made 1 principal payment a year. And you'll notice that once we get to local streets, but that's to the tune of about $100,000. The period fund balance shows a negative here, but we don't receive our revenue sharing for September and October until December, estimating that to be at about $100,000. So overall, we're doing okay. The major streets and local streets, very similar. Again, to last month, surface maintenance and sweeping are up with our winter maintenance being down. We'll see those kind of even out as we go forward here with the snow. Again, the big one in the local streets was used the debt service on the 2012 local street paving project. We made that payment here in October. But overall, the major local streets are doing fine. The equipment fund, again, we'll start seeing that revenue to increase with the winter, snow plowing. Water fund and sewer funds are both in line with where they should be. Library fund showing negative throughout the year. Again, penal fines that they receive are in August after the fiscal year end, so they'll show a negative throughout the year. They're about 42% of expenditures, a little higher than I would anticipate at this time, but not too high. Civic Center, we're starting to see the increase in that with the new ice. When I hear they're doing well. Cemetery, that we'll start seeing that activity drop as the snow here, again, picking up in the spring. And the smaller funds are at the bottom there. Again, we have our volunteer fire department, their annual tournament at the beginning of the year. That's why those expenditures are high. The cash balances report is the next one. Nothing significant to report. All cash balances are healthy. With where they should be. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the statement of revenue and expenditures and the monthly cash report.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Tower, second by Commissioner Seymour to receive and place on file the finance director's statement of revenue and expenditures and 2 monthly cash report. Is there any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item E, approval of the agenda. Are there any changes we need to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Seymour, second by Commissioner Tower to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item F, citizens wishing to address the commission on items on the agenda. 3-minute limit, please. If you are able, please approach the podium and state your name. Okay. Old business. Item G, discuss and consider action on blighted property at 400 Cedar Street. Commissioners, any questions or anything that needs to be cleared up, comments?
I would like to just say that we are at the third stage of this particular blight process. And it takes a long time to get to the third stage. And I don't feel like we ought to give up the leverage that we've gained by being to this point in the process. But I do also think that Mr. Farner has been working at this a little bit. We're balancing business versus the needs of the business. Those are most important elements. So what I would suggest that we do is give Mr. Farner until a reasonable time in the spring. I was thinking about roughly 5 months from now, which gets us to about May 9th. And I don't know what meeting we have then, but I'd like to, at the nearest meeting to May 9th, assess, basically hold this at that point, that we're allowed to do that.
You could either bring it back to the commission or just direct staff, if by that certain date he has complied, then we would mobilize to finish up the cleanup activity. Either way.
I don't know, I'd like to bring it back in front of us and talk again at that time. I'm with you, obviously you made it, you're not done yet, but you're obviously making some attempts, because I've looked at it since we sort of saw this. I did go over it, and there's some work yet to be done, but I think that's a fair expectation, is that you're right, we shouldn't give up where we're at.
We don't want to just say, oh, everything's good, and just have to start all over again next spring from the first morning, the whole process. We want to be able to pick up where we are.
And your thoughts are to bring it back to the commission, I'll say the first meeting in May for an update and then further direction from the commission.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to make that motion.
I'm comfortable with that. Now is that I think the fence idea is really in your best interest.
It's a good neighbor policy. There is no
Yes.
burden on you to do that, but certainly it's a good neighbor.
It's in the plan, so we will get started on it. Like I said, I don't know if it'll be completed next year, but it might be a 2-year thing, but we'll definitely get started on it.
You might help with some vandalism too, maybe, they can't sneak into the back lot, do a fence up there or something.
Probably got 8 cameras there now too. That was the costly one, the last one.
So I'll make a motion that we review this particular third warning at the first meeting in May.
Second.
Is that a good enough motion for? Very good.
Motion by Commissioner Semo, second by Commissioner Sims, to consider review of blighted property on 400 Cedar Street at the first meeting in May.
2014.
2014. 2014, so we will visit this in 2014. Any further discussion or concerns? I'm glad you're making some progress and make sure we address the right of way that are important.
I have myself on the agenda for blight too, so just before I take off here, just want to show you what my neighborhood looks like. You guys can look at these at your leisure. So I've been trying to work with the city on getting some of that stuff taken care of. And I know your big pushes on blight right now, so come on over to my neighborhood. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion out there from Commissioner Semo, second by Commissioner Sims to review this again in May 2014. Any further discussion or concerns on this item? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item H, update on comprehensive plan from Michael Brown, Community Development Director.
All right, thank you. As you are hopefully well aware, we started our comprehensive planning project. We are underway. We've already had one meeting with the planning commission and our consultants. Last week we had a scheduled meeting, but had to cancel due to the weather. So that our consultants will be back in January for a number of meetings. So I just want to give you an update on where we're at. Start with is the website. This is the comprehensive planning website, ironwoodcomplan.com. You can actually access it that way or via the city's website. It's on the homepage of the city's website as well. So this is a resource for the community members and you, the commission, and other boards and commissions to direct people to learn about the planning process, what's going on in the city. This will be constantly updated as there's new information and documents available. Another item on this is the survey that we've sent out. We sent out a survey with the tax bills this past month. The survey is here. You can access it again on this website under the community survey here. There's also other links in here under the public engagement section. So there's multiple ways you can get to the survey. People can either fill out the survey via paper and turn it back into us, and then we'll enter it into the online version, or you can do it online. It's obviously a lot easier for staff if you do it online than if you don't have to worry about the data input, but it's not a problem. Currently, to date, as of this afternoon, about 3 o'clock, we've had 182 surveys filled out, which is, I think, a very good response, and according to our consultants, they feel that's a very good response so far, and it's only been open for a couple weeks. The survey will close January 3rd, so encourage everyone to fill it out, and encourage everyone that you talk to and meet to fill out and participate. A couple of upcoming meetings that will be taking place in January. The first one will be the community workshop on Tuesday, January 1st, from 6:30 to 8:30. They'll be here in the Memorial Building in the auditorium. This will be a chance for the community to come out and voice their opinion, have a meaningful dialogue with one another and the consultants to let them know what they feel about the community, what they want to see happen in the future, how they want to see the community go, what direction they want it to go and look like. It'll be a very interactive meeting. They're actually going to use a game concept. They actually have a game board that they use at these types of meetings, so it'll be very interactive. It won't just be you sitting there listening to someone talk to you. There'll be a little bit of that, but you'll actually need to interact with one another, participate, have a discussion, and really hopefully get some good thoughts out of this process. The second meeting of that week will be Wednesday, January 22nd, starting at 5 p.m. This will be a meeting with you, the City Commission, and the Planning Commission, and our consultant. This will be your chance to really talk with the consultant, give them your thoughts and opinions, have a dialogue with them, and kind of a follow-up from the meeting the night before. We'll be getting more information out to you about that, but I just want to bring that up to your attention. 5 o'clock on the 22nd of January, actual meeting with you and the Planning Commission and the consultant. On January 23rd, Thursday, there's a community open house from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. This will be a chance for people from the public, anyone who wants to come in, talk with consultants, see what's going on. They're going to be here all week working on the project after the meetings from Tuesday night. They're going to be drawing up sketches, writing down ideas and concepts. It's really kind of a working session for them that week. So it'll be a chance for the community to come in, see what's taken place so far, provide any other feedback if they didn't have a chance to be at the meeting on the 21st. And then later that evening, there'll be kind of a debriefing and a pinup session for the Planning Commission starting at 6:30, where the consultant really kind of wrap up what's happened throughout the week with the Planning Commission, give them a brief overview of what's taken place and kind of where they're headed from there. A couple other things to note with the project that we're trying to do to encourage participation. We're sponsoring a photo contest. Our consultants want to have pictures that they can put of Ironwood into the plan to make it visual, to make an impact. And one way to do that is to get the community involved and have people from the community submit pictures of Ironwood. And what will happen is if their photo is picked, it'll be put in the plan, and they can actually have their name put next to the photo saying, photo by so-and-so. So want to encourage that. You can access this on the website here. There's information about it. You can email your information to this email here, and there's actually an entry form that you fill out. Basic information. You can submit 5 photos, kind of give a description, what it is, some details, and then just some waivers saying, yes, I agree to give you the picture, and you can use it, and use my name, and so forth. So, oops. Another way we're going to try to get the information out is I'm going to be on the radio this Thursday with Chuck Travasio for the Coffee Clutch airing that they do, so I'll be talking about the plan, talking about these items, promoting the project as well, just get the word out. This past Friday, at the Jack Frost Parade, the Boy Scouts handed out these lovely bookmarks. Has information about the survey, the upcoming meeting dates, and the website. We just handed them out to the crowd along the sidewalk to get people more information, get the word out. After the Jack Frost Parade, these were also put up at the Ironwood Theater for the events they had this weekend, so they just put them out. People came by and took them. We have a few left. I actually have a few for each of you, so if you can do your part and hand these out to people, invite them to the meetings, invite them to participate in the survey, and get the word out. We still have some that are at our water billing department and in the clerk's office that are there for people that come in. So again, we want to get the word out about this. We want people to participate because this plan is only as good as, what the community says. That's why we're taking this public participation component very seriously. As I said, we've got 182 surveys in so far. Once that closes on January 3rd, the consultants will start reviewing that information, tabulating it, and then use that information to help focus the discussions at the meeting on the 21st of January. So with that concludes my update. If you have any questions, I can answer those now.
When do you project the comprehensive plan to be done?
It's projected to be done this summer in 2014.
I'd like to just bring up a couple of points that we brought out at the Parks and Rec meeting. I think it was about the survey, that filling it out online is easier for the city if people fill it out online. And so it's really easy. I did it today. It was extremely easy. But you're only allowed one person per basically household to do it online. Any additional people would have to do the hard copy. And the other important point that you made was that this survey is not only for Ironwood residents. This is for anyone who has an interest in the city of Ironwood.
Correct. Residents, property owners, business owners, even, we want to take input from people that live in the area, or even people that travel here, that vacation here. If they're out there, we want to know what they're thinking because, our community survives not only on the people that live here and do work here, but people that come here year-round for various activities. So we want to hear information and feedback from everybody that wants to participate. Thanks.
Any questions? Thank you, Michael. New business, item I, discuss and consider new pole placement by Excel Energy.
We have Donna here from Excel Energy, and she's been working with us on the new alignment for the pole, and had a little update for you. I don't think this requires any action. It's more informative for the commission, where they're at and where things are going. Donna?
Yeah, previously, we got an easement for the area of the line west of Binding Street there, and it was determined a couple months after the easement was acquired. We weren't sure if we were going to have some clearance concerns in the area, and it did come back that there were some clearance concerns that we need to address. And so the suggestion by the engineers team was to add a new pole right within the alignment here to raise up the conductors. We did look at some other options as well, potentially replacing other structures or different options that might eliminate the need for that pole, given the fact that it's a future park and such. But each item that we kind of looked at really had a lot of engineering constraints, kind of cascading effects on other parts of the line and such, or very big dollars, and it came down to really need to add that pole. We did, I first met with the Parks and Rec and gave them an option because the area here is where a parking lot is most likely going to go in the future. We did say that we could replace this structure with a different one that would be closer to the road, but the type of structure that it would be based on cost would require support structure across the road, and the Parks and Rec was pretty clear that they didn't like that idea because they didn't want to add another pole. So they said just stick with adding structure. Having commission concurred with that. I met in the field with Moni, I'm forgetting her last name, and Mr. Simo, and discussed pole location and determined that the one that we had identified was as good as any other. And so at this point, the easement language is pretty standard and allows us to add structures within our easement area as needed. So it's not something that is approval, the easement allows it. The only thing it would have, if we had gotten the instruction that they wanted, say, a different pole replacement there, then that would have required some additional approval and such. But simply adding that structure in the alignment at this point is more of a, this is something that's taking place. Because it is, typically payments are made for new easement. There is a new easement being required here, but we understand that there is an additional structure being added. So I had, so that kind of our standard payment in a situation like that is a $500 payment, which would be made when I'm done with all the process here and moving forward. So that's that story.
Commissioners, questions, comments?
Did you have any success at all lobbying for a landscape credit?
I did. I tried telling people that are involved in the project. There's new work being done over near the Ironwood substation itself, off of Wright Boulevard, between off of Wright Boulevard and the next road to the east. We had to acquire additional easement, and a payment has been made, had previously been made to the city in that area. It was, what I learned is that the payment was for, we have to take down a big swath of pine trees in that area. And typically when we have new easement acquisition and we're removing trees and doing our work, we come through and do the restoration, but it was decided that the city wanted to have control over that. So the payment that was made was for basically prepayment for restoration and shrubbery and that kind of thing to be put in when we're done with our work. So it wasn't so much, say, a landscape credit as far as just kind of a general payment. It really was tied to removal of those trees and restoration of that land when the work's done, rather than Excel Energy doing the restoration. In this area, there's not going to be any tree removal or anything like that. So it really was kind of a separate or a different situation.
Sure. Well, you were too optimistic about that anyway.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That was just great.
Any other questions, comments?
Just like to thank Don for taking the time to meet with us and discuss what we need to protocol.
Yeah, how about time frame on the work? When do you think the work will have to take place?
They started working around the substation itself. I apologize. I know that that is being tied in with the rest of the work closer to the substation, and it's underway. So it's, I would say, over the course of the winter, the work will continue. I apologize. I'm not sure the exact time frame.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Item J, discuss ordinance 499, Book Z, zoning text amendment to accessory buildings in the R2 district.
All right, thank you. A number of months ago, we came across, I guess you'd call it an issue in the R2 zoning district. It's the multifamily zoning district. Apartment complex came in and wanted to put up some garage for their tenants. The way that the ordinance was written limited them to a 900 square foot garage, which isn't viable for an apartment complex or any multifamily type complex. So I'm not sure how that would got in the ordinance, but we went through the process with the planning commission, had a public hearing, made recommendations, had a number of discussions on this, and came up with the language that's before you tonight. So what it does is it modifies the current language in the multifamily zoning district to allow larger garages and more spaces. So that's kind of a cleanup item. And again, charter requires that you review an ordinance twice before you approve it, so this tonight's just for discussion. No action is needed. And to give you an update, the Planning Commission this week will be starting the discussion regarding garages in general within the single-family districts that we previously discussed.
Questions, comments at this point from this item? Item K, discuss and consider sale of property owned on Clemens Street to Mr. Aaron Samaro.
Okay. This may sound familiar to you because it is. Previously, the City Commission had a request for this property by Mr. Suzik to purchase property right there. Mr. Suzik was in the process of selling his property to Mr. Samaro, who subsequently did buy it. So therefore, Mr. Suzik did not decide to move forward with purchasing the property in the city because there was no use in it anymore. Mr. Samaro subsequently made the same request. He is here this evening. Planning Commission and Parks and Rec did weigh in on this. Parks and Rec recommended that the city sell this property. Planning Commission recommended that it be put on a surplus property list. So tonight is before you for a decision. What the city had decided in the past is that they did agree to sell to Mr. Suzik. All costs associated with the sale and purchase of that property would be borne by the person making the request. So in the last case, title search is required, a survey will be required, and an appraisal will be required, and then all attorney and legal fees regarding the sale of the property will be borne by the person making the request. So in this case, Mr. Samaro. So with that, I answer any questions you might have.
You said that Parks and Rec recommended that property be sold,
Yes.
and planning recommended that it go on the surplus
Surplus
property.
property list.
And we had originally approved the sale of this land to Mr. Suzik. Have we set a price?
It would be set by the appraisal. That's why the appraisal is.
All right. Because I noticed in Mr. Somero's letter, he has a price of $200, and I just didn't know where that came from.
Right, yeah. The appraisal will be required to set the price.
Commissioners, any further questions, concerns? Assuming the city has no other interest in the property, it's located there.
Right, I mean, it's kind of already being taken care of by the current property owner. Planning Commission and Parks and Rec, analyzed this area pretty heavily with the last process as well. And, the big concern was future right-of-ways for trails through the area. Any trails that would go through there, would go through probably the center or west of this area where the request is being made. So from staff's perspective too, there's no reason not to sell it. If the city's interested in it.
Michael,
This is a small piece.
This is actually a small piece. Philip just have the survey. It's part of a larger parcel.
Yeah, it'll have to be surveyed out as well to carve it out as the larger piece. I mean, the larger piece is, it's hard to see the lines, but it goes up here and comes back down. It includes Public Works Garage. So this whole section is one large piece right now, and he's just taking out a small chunk.
Is there something in the documentation that specifies, I think, was it 90 feet by, so we'd be basically going a certain number of feet west of about the existing property line, is that the theory?
Correct, yeah. 90 feet back, and then the width of his current property.
90 by 150.
And that's roughly.
Well, I think we need to be consistent with our former action and approve the sale of this land with the same caveats that we had given Mr. Suzik, which I believe were that he would pay all necessary fees for surveying and title and the rest of it. I'll make that motion. I don't exactly know how much verbiage we need to put in there. I'll make a motion that we approve the sale of this land to Mr. Somro, price to be determined by the appraisal, and Mr. Somro will be responsible for all fees that accompany the sale, including title search and survey. Is there any other?
And appraisal fees.
And appraisal fees. That's my motion. I'm sticking to it.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Seal, second by Commissioner Towler to approve the sale of city-owned property on Clement Street to Mr. Aaron Samaro. Price to be determined and all associated fees, related associated fees will be at his cost. Fair enough?
I do have one more question for Mr. Brown. Because this land is zoned open, is there any planning or zoning issue that would accompany this?
He basically can't put anything on it. I mean, it just stays as open, you know, it'd just be an extension of his property, pretty much. It'll be, stay as is. He won't be able to put any structures or build anything on it without the permission of the city. And there is a process that, in open space zoning, if you were to do something other than just keep it open space, you have to go through the planning commission for approval.
What would be the difference between it being open versus surplus? Would you be able to build if it was surplus, or what's?
No, the open zoning is the actual zoning designation.
Okay.
The surplus property list is a list that the city created a number of years ago that they designated certain properties that they wanted to get rid of and they would put out there and they set a price to it. So the surplus list is just a list that exists that if anyone wants to walk in off the street, pay the listed price, they can go through that process and it's very easy. So the zoning designation of open space says what he can or can't do with his property. As open space, he basically just leaves it as is.
I do have one more question then. Why did the planning commission ask to have it as surplus property?
They didn't explain that. Okay. That was just that was their motion, their recommendation. So. Because if you were to put it on surplus, then anybody could purchase it. In this case, Mr. Salvo specifically requested.
During our comprehensive planning process, we won't actually rezone anything, but we may come up with recommendations for rezoning, is that correct?
Correct. As part of the comprehensive plan process, you'll have a future land use map that shows generally future land uses for specific areas within the entire community. There'll also be a proposed future zoning map that will help guide future zoning decisions. Pretty much the zoning map and the land use map within the plan are fairly similar. Just different terminologies.
So at that point, it's conceivable that this chunk could be rezoned as residential.
Right. I mean, that's what'll come out of this, this planning process.
That's all that I have.
Okay, I do have a motion by Commissioner Sino and a second by Commissioner Towler to approve the sale pending the associated fees. Any further discussion concerned on this item? Roll call.
Simon.
Yes.
Sim.
No.
Tower.
Yes.
Care.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item L, discuss and consider a request by Mr. John Whitlow to purchase city-owned property on East Ash Street.
Okay. Another similar request regarding property. Mr. Whitlow has requested to purchase 2 properties from the city. One of the properties is on the surplus list. Actually, both the properties are on the surplus list. One of the properties has been placed on hold in the past for future development. Is kind of what the history behind this has been. So the property right here, which is in red, to start, the blue properties here, all the properties that Mr. Whitlow owns. The smaller red property, 70, is on the surplus list. So Mr. Whitlow can come in and purchase that outright at the list price. The bigger question is the larger piece here, the 50. This is the piece that has been put on hold by the city in the past for potential future development. The city believes that it's better served for larger, more planned development than just selling it off to one person. Staff's recommendation is to go that route, really to hold on to this piece for future development. You could potentially get more lots in there. Put a small road through, connect the different roads in the neighborhoods that are in there. Parks and Rec recommended to hold on to this until the comp plan is completed to see how the city wants to move forward. Planning Commission denied their request outright. Like I said, staff's recommendation, and it's consistent with past practice of the city, to hold on to this piece until more planned development comes through, as opposed to just selling it off to one person for, individual use. And with that, I can answer any questions.
The recommendation is to hang on to partial ending 050, but have no concerns as far as selling property ending 070.
Correct, yeah. 070 request, he can come in and purchase that as he wants, because it's on the surplus list. But yeah, the recommendation is to hold on to 050.
Commissioners, any further questions, concerns, comments?
Makes sense to me, should hang on to it for the time being.
So as you said, we don't have to take any action on 070.
Correct, just 050.
We would have to take action on that.
Or you could just take no action and then it wouldn't sell. So I guess that could be your action is no action.
Personally, I don't see any reason to take action at this point.
No action is still able to purchase 070. Action, okay. Moves us to item M, discuss and consider joint governmental meeting with city boards and commissions for March 31st, 2013.
Good.
14?
Oh, it should be
14.
14. We've had a couple of requests from different members on different boards and commissions throughout the year to have a joint meeting with the city commission and the other governmental boards that the city appoints. This has been done in the past. I don't know how long, maybe a couple of years ago.
It's been a few years.
Really, the purpose of the meetings is really just for each board and commission to give an update to everybody on what they're doing, where they're at, and what they're working on right now. So what we're proposing is to hold that joint meeting on March 31st, 2014. At, I don't know if we set a time or not, but
Yeah.
4 to 6, it was in the memo, okay, so 4 to 6. So that's what we're recommending. It would be run by the city commission. Again, the thought process is to let every board and commission give like a 5-minute update of what's going on. Just kind of a more informal meeting to discuss, hey, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, so everyone keeps up to date on what we're doing.
I think it's good to get together every now and then, so I would support.
I think we've done way more than that. I think it's probably like twice a year. I think it'd be valuable to at least have everybody together and sort of, we can all, even though it wouldn't be on the agenda, but I think that's where things get done, is through projects like that, sort of, talking to each other.
I'll make a motion that we schedule the meeting as described in item M for 4 to 6 p.m. At a location to be determined later.
Thought it would be the auditorium or maybe a facility around town.
Okay, I know we did one in the auditorium, it was just bad acoustics, so we can try to find another
The
spot.
last one we did at GCC,
Yeah.
it was really nice.
That's support. Motion by Commissioner Siegel, second by Commissioner Towers, to move forward with the joint governmental meeting with city boards and commissioners for March 31st, 2014, from 4 to 6 p.m., location to be determined. Any further discussion or concerns? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item N, discuss and consider awarding bids for entree companions, kitchen equipment.
All right, again, you've seen this before you. I think this is the 4th sale now of this kitchen equipment. High bidders are here. We're recommending toward the bids as is.
I'll make a motion, we approve the sales to the high bidders as shown on our table.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Siegel, second by Commissioner Towers, to award the bids for entree and companions kitchen equipment as presented. Any further discussion or concerns? Can you do roll call?
Sim,
Yes.
Power,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Seymour,
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes. Item O, discuss and consider awarding bids for Old World Meats kitchen equipment.
Again, the same as the first, just different project. We're recommending to award the bids to the high bidders.
I'll make a motion, we award the bids for Old World Meats as described in the table.
Motion by Commissioner Semo, second by Commissioner Tower, to award the bid for Old World Meats kitchen equipment as presented. Any further discussion or concerns? Roll call.
Power.
Yes.
Hair.
Yes.
Seymour.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes. Item P, discuss and consider awarding bids to Muckovitz Heating for heating system renovations in the city center.
Thank you. The City Commission did previously authorize going out for bids for a replacement heating system. We had one bidder, Muckovitz Heating. Again, this bid was predicated on a combination of funding with some grant funding that was applied for. Also, we have not yet heard back on the grant funding, if that's going to be available. So it might be a multi-phased approach to getting that heating system replaced. This is something that the DAP board has looked at, some of their building committee, as the first phase in getting that done. And what they're looking at doing is putting in 5 heating units in that facility, which would cover the majority of the facility. There might need to be future phases for some duct work, that type of thing. But this should get a functional heating system in that building. The concern is the existing boiler is very old, and if it does go down, it's going to be a significant problem for the tenants over there. And that building essentially is full right now, except for maybe one spot.
One spot. 3 people are interested.
Okay, so they had a great response for the use of the space over there. So they did talk with Muckovitz Heating. They gave a proposal, if you will, based on their bid of $25,000 to put in those 5 heating units. They make it functional. They've also worked with Efficiency United, which is a company that basically works on behalf of Excel to provide incentives. Bob Burchill has been very active with others in getting this credit to be applied to this. That credit is an amount of $14,262.42, and that'll be applied to the cost of these improvements, putting in a higher efficiency furnaces. In addition, the DAP does have funding that's been donated to the facility through donations. They have over $14,000, so the balance of that $25,000 would come from those funds. And again, with your approval, we would hire Muckovitz Heating. He would work on getting those boilers in yet this year. With that Efficiency United incentive, they have to be installed by the end of the year, Bob?
December 31st.
Okay, and Muckovitz knows that, and he would move forward with getting those installed. Probably anything else to add?
Well, with approval tonight, we would order the equipment tomorrow morning. And it would come in this week, and we'd start probably the end of this week or beginning of next week, which still is a time frame to get it done. And he knows that's contingent upon the bid, so.
So no direct city funds involved, a combination between the Efficiency United incentives and the donations that have been provided for the city center.
No, we needed this for a while.
Right.
So, going through all the different memorandums and documents, what are we really spending right now? What is the actual amount?
$25,000 is what we're asking for approval on. And that's to set the furnaces and get them running, gas hooked up, activated, and working.
Show me here in Muckovitz's proposal. It says 25,000. We're not doing option 1. We're doing all the proposal, just not option 1.
I'm not sure.
Is that the document that actually specifies the scope of work?
The document for the 25,000 specifies the scope of work for that 25,000.
Right. Muckovitz Heating did provide a document that itemizes the $25,000 worth of work. It's at the very end of that particular item. It's a proposal and Muckovitz Heating, and he spells out what the $25,000 does include. He did provide another option of $6,500 for additional duct work, but right now the funding isn't there. That would probably be one of the next phases.
And there's potential with this Michigan Council for the Arts grant to come through. We're supposed to get word on that by the 15th, I believe, of the month. The complication there is we have to get this work done. We have to get the furnaces in and running to get the 14,200. So it's kind of cart before the horse, but it's a feasible system, so I think we're gonna be in good shape over the time frame.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve awarding a bid to Margaret's Heating as described in item P.
Support. Motion by Commissioner Sino, support by Mayor Corcoran to award the bid to Muckbetts Heating for the heating system renovations as described in item P. Any further discussion or concerns? I do a roll call.
Care,
Yes.
Seymour,
Yes.
Sim,
Yes.
Tower,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item Q, discuss and consider approving resolution 013-029, Beaver County 2013-18 hazard mitigation plan, the City of Ironwood flood mitigation annex 2013.
All right, thank you. This resolution will approve the plan that Western UP Regional Planning Development Region did. It's county plan, it's requirement for flood mitigation and for funding, and it's a FEMA requirement. So essentially, what they did is they took an additional section of the plan and did one specifically on flood mitigation for the city of Ironwood. And in order for us to receive any kind of federal funding if we have disasters, we have to have this plan approved.
I'll make a motion, we approve the resolution described in item Q.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Seymour, second by Commissioner Kare to approve resolution 013-029 as described in item Q. Any further discussion or concerns? Roll call.
Seymour,
Yes.
Sim,
Yes.
Tower, Care,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item R, consider approving city employee gratuity gift for the holiday season.
Again, this comes to the City Commission for your consideration annually. You've looked at this, the gratuity has been in the amount of $50 per employee, and it's presented for your consideration.
I have asked the city manager how long it's been since we raised it. Did you reach it?
We've got back, went back at least 10 years, and it's been $50 for at least 10 years, probably longer. And we didn't find out when it actually, changed, but it's been over 10 years.
And we had no employees 10 years ago.
Back then, there would have been more employees also.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the gratuity, but that we make it $75.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Seymour, second by Commissioner Sim to approve city employee gratuity gift for the holiday season to $75. Any further discussions or concerns? I'll assume $75.
We'll be okay.
Further discussion, concerns? Roll call.
Sim,
Yes.
Tower,
Yes.
Care,
Yes.
Seymour,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes. Item S, manager's report.
Just a few items to cover. I will get you the report. I'll email it out to you tomorrow morning. It's work in progress, but just a few items to highlight. Just a reminder that next Monday, the 16th, there is will be a workshop with the City Commission, goal setting workshop. It's going to be held down at the City Center in the DAP facility, and that'll be at 4 o'clock. So I believe we'll get a brief tour of the DAP and what's going on down there. It's very impressive, and then we'll go right into our goal setting workshop with the Commission. And that is open to the public to, we'll be upstairs in the upper conference room.
Right.
So, just to remind you of that. City staff has been working on getting public Wi-Fi into the building. That's been something we talked about for quite some time here. There's been some challenges just with the city system, so it's not tied to that. They could have some security issues. They have found a way to address that. So right now, we do have public Wi-Fi in the auditorium area, front atrium, and we're getting it brought up to the office spaces up here, just to let you know. So it's something that I think was a goal of the commission and of course staff to try to get that made available. So it is functional now in part of the building. Due to the bad weather last week, the planning commission has reset their meeting to this Wednesday, Michael. So I'll just make people aware of that. We have received, you probably saw, Through some correspondence, that the city did receive a DNR land and water conservation grant in the amount of $30,000 for Longyear Park. It's for some handicap accessibility improvements to the park and also some expansion of play structure, essentially. So a very nice grant. We did apply for a grant for Curry Park too, and we were not successful in having that. Of course, with electrical upgrades, those type of things. With DPW, they've been very active last week. It's been a very, very busy early winter here with plowing snow and removing snow. They removed some snow downtown. They're going to be continuing snow removal this week, Wednesday, Bob? Is that still the
That's
plan?
the tentative plan to finish up downtown starting Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, just to make you aware of that. And again, quite unusual for this time of year, but just the nature of living up in the Northwoods. And Finance Department has been very, very busy with the auditors. That's going very well. The city audit, I think they'll be finished up here in the next few weeks. Paul?
Yes.
So I want to thank Paul for that, and his department. When they come in, they pretty much consume the bulk of their time. There's a lot of data they go through, information, and a lot of staff resources. That is our priority, to get information to them. And public safety, they have obtained, I guess, a new public safety vehicle that is in hand.
Yes, our truck came in last week.
Last week, so you're getting outfitted with all the equipment.
Should be up and running in about 2 to 3 weeks.
All right, so that's it for my report.
Thank you. Item T, other matters to be submitted.
Got one little thing. This is more, I guess, a little PR effort. I got a call from a resident, or got contacted by a resident about a problem they were having with ice buildup on the street. Water was flowing from a side property on the street. So I suggested to the resident that they use the service request element that's on our webpage. And she did, and came back to me the next day and said they were there almost first thing in the morning and contacted her personally, and they did a great job of following up. So I'm just really happy to hear that, because I wasn't involved in suggesting that the person do this. It's nice to see the process work the way it should, and I wish there was a way we could get the message out there to get more people to utilize that. How many people are utilizing it?
Service requests, we probably maybe get 1 or 2 a week.
Okay, so it is some.
There's some.
It was gratifying to see it, so. It's kind of a shout out to the people who we have this service.
Anybody else? Yes, I was just out, I was in the Jack, over the Jack Hospital, and they've done a wonderful job with all the offices and everything up there, just really taking shape. It looked very nice. So, good job, everybody.
Much better than we planned. We'll have a presentation for you guys next week, Wednesday.
Great.
So
Or
we'll do
Monday?
Monday. So we'll have a whole one, I'll kind of beginning to where we're at right now, so y'all have a picture of how it's going. It's going better than we ever anticipated.
Anybody else? Item U, citizens wishing to address the commission on items not on the agenda, 5-minute limit, please. And if you're able to use the first podium and state your name.
Yes, thank you very much. Alder Bobsich here. Tuesday, December 3rd, something in the newspaper caught my eye. Some going after bonds for $11 million here. What actually is this for?
That is for, I believe, water and sewer project on US 2.
It'll be the full, on US 2, it's over 2 years, 2014 and 15. The DOT is going to be rebuilding US 2.
Okay.
So when they rebuild US 2, we want to replace the old infrastructure, the old water, old sewer underneath the road. So once they fix it up, we don't have to go and
Yeah, it
tear
gets
it
me
up
all
again.
patched, yes.
It also, it also includes the neighborhood north of US 2 and west of the Kmart Plaza area, between essentially Luxmore and Lake Road.
Okay.
That area also is scheduled for new water and sewer lines next 2014. So that's what the money would be for.
Okay, that's for that, this is just not the US 2. Okay,
Correct,
okay.
that's-
Because I was going to say, what did the Jesseville project cost?
That's in the ballpark. This maybe to add, it's in that same realm of costs. This is also refinancing some bonds that we had before. So again, we had some bonds at a higher interest rate. So here, we're gonna refinance some of those older bonds at a lower interest rate and keep that rate down. So it's a combination of money for new improvements and refinancing some old bonds.
The only thing I did not agree on is the way you're going at it. You're not gonna let the city, the people, vote on it. I mean, you have to do the petition or recall or whatever. And with this deal, how much is our water rate's gonna go up per household? Any idea?
We do actually, and I don't have the numbers here right now. We actually went through, about a year ago, we had workshops and this came through the process. We have to adjust the rates to accommodate this, and we're doing it over a 3-year period. So again, we started actually, I think two years ago, starting adjusting the rates a little bit, so when you get to the point of needing the money, it's there. And I don't remember exactly the rate adjustments.
I can't remember what it was, but 2012 was the first adjustment, 2013 was the second adjustment, we'll have a third one next year.
So they're being adjusted a little bit each year, so when this project hits, the money's there to pay for it.
Okay, and one other thing, see, it's the end of the year. The W-2s are gonna be out for all city employees. Is it possible to post what the city employees make per year, what's on the W-2, and put it on the bulletin board down where people pay their water bills, and leave it up there for a year?
I think that's a FOIA information.
You can point it at it.
I don't know, you can do it the easy way or do the Freedom of Information Act, but everybody should see it when they pay their water bill, to see what some people are making in this city. Well, there's the easy way or the hard way, because the W-2s are going to be coming out pretty soon, in the next few months. I mean, that would be the easy way to do it, wouldn't it? To post it there, and whenever somebody pays their water bill, they can see what everybody's making.
I don't think that salaries are a direct contributor to your water bills being so high. I mean.
No, not the water bills. No, this has nothing to do with the water bills.
Oh, I see.
Everybody does take a piece of water, but there it is right there, and then leave it up there for a year.
And at this point, we'll kind of take your suggestion into consideration, maybe we can bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for explaining what this is, too. That's $11 million. Whoa,
Scary.
that is scary. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody? Adjourned.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Stengel, second by Commissioner Taylor to adjourn this meeting. Any further discussion on the agenda? All those in favor, aye. Opposed?
They used to be hired in the newspaper, yeah?